What if the greatest source of fear in your life has never been the world around you, but the stories your own mind keeps telling you? Every day, invisible anxieties shape your decisions, limit your ambitions, and quietly convince you to settle for less than you are capable of becoming. Centuries ago, one philosopher uncovered a way to break this invisible prison. Yet his ideas were condemned, misunderstood, and buried beneath generations of noise. His name was Spinoza, and what he discovered about fear could completely transform the way you see yourself, other people, and reality itself. Before we begin, comment the words, "I choose reason," if you are ready to confront fear instead of obeying it. Then subscribe, leave a like, and stay with me until the very end, because the final insight is not simply a philosophical idea. It is a truth that has the power to quietly dismantle the deepest fears you have carried for years, perhaps without ever realizing it. To understand why Spinoza's ideas still unsettle people today, you have to return to the 17th century, when questioning accepted beliefs could cost your reputation, your freedom, or even your life. Baruch Spinoza rejected fear-based religion and argued that reality follows consistent natural laws rather than arbitrary rewards and punishments. He believed human suffering grows whenever emotions rule without understanding. His writings were banned because they challenged institutions that relied upon obedience, uncertainty, and guilt. Yet beneath the controversy was a message. Fear loses its grip when you understand its causes instead of worshiping its illusions. Modern psychology echoes this insight through cognitive science, emotional regulation, and behavioral research, showing that distorted interpretations often create greater suffering than external events themselves. In an age driven by outrage, notifications, and comparison, Spinoza's forgotten wisdom feels less like philosophy and more like a survival guide for protecting your freedom from chains. Now that you understand the world Spinoza confronted, it is time to uncover the hidden laws beneath his philosophy. Each one exposes another layer of fear's architecture, revealing why ordinary reactions create invisible chains, while deliberate understanding quietly restores the freedom you believed was permanently lost. Beginning with the first, Hidden Law 1. Fear rarely begins with danger itself. It begins with interpretation. Spinoza argued that people suffer more from imagined futures than present reality. Your mind predicts humiliation, failure, rejection, or loss before any event unfolds. Those predictions feel undeniable because emotion disguises speculation as certainty. Every avoided conversation, postponed opportunity, or abandoned dream strengthens the illusion that fear was protecting you. In truth, it was quietly training you to distrust your own capacity. The first hidden law declares that understanding always weakens fear before courage ever appears. When you patiently question frightening assumptions instead of obeying them, your nervous system gradually discovers evidence that reality is often less terrifying than imagination. The prison never existed outside your perception. The door was unlocked the moment you became willing to examine the story instead of escaping it. That simple habit slowly transforms panic into clarity, resilience, and genuine inner freedom. Hidden Law 2. Control becomes impossible whenever you confuse what belongs to you with what never did. Spinoza believed freedom emerged from recognizing necessity instead of demanding impossible certainty. You cannot command another person's opinion, the economy, aging, chance, or yesterday, yet countless fears grow from exhausting attempts to dominate uncontrollable outcomes. The hidden law teaches that real power begins where false control ends. Direct your attention toward your judgments, preparation, character, and responses. Everything else deserves observation, not obsession. Ironically, people who release desperate control become calmer, more persuasive, and unexpectedly influential because they stop leaking energy into fantasies. Others sense this stability and respond with trust rather than resistance. Fear loses momentum whenever your focus returns to what you can genuinely shape today. Peace follows disciplined attention, not perfect circumstances. Quiet acceptance creates fearless momentum through consistent action every single day, despite uncertainty surrounding every important decision ahead. Hidden Law 3. Every emotion carries information, but not every emotion tells the truth. Fear often exaggerates uncertainty, until possibilities appear like inevitable disasters. Spinoza insisted that clearer understanding transforms destructive passions into active strength. Modern psychology agrees that labeling emotions accurately reduces their intensity. When you pause and ask, "What exactly am I afraid of?" vague anxiety begins dissolving into specific problems that can actually be solved. Precision defeats panic. Confusion feeds it. The hidden law reminds you that clarity is emotional armor. People who investigate their fears become architects of their minds instead of prisoners trapped inside automatic reactions. Awareness interrupts habit before habit shapes destiny. The strongest victories begin with honest observation, patient reflection, courageous questions, and consistent truth-seeking despite discomfort. Every insight weakens fear's authority until confidence grows from understanding instead of wishful thinking alone, permanently reshaping your relationship with uncertainty itself every single day. Hidden Law 4. Most people believe courage means eliminating fear. Spinoza proposed something far more demanding. Courage emerges when understanding becomes stronger than emotional turbulence. You stop waiting to feel fearless before acting. Instead, you act because reality deserves a wiser response than instinctive avoidance. This hidden law separates extraordinary lives from ordinary ones. Every meaningful achievement requires walking through uncertainty without demanding guarantees. Entrepreneurs, explorers, artists, reformers, and innovators all confronted invisible fears before visible success. Their advantage was never emotional comfort. It was disciplined commitment to truth over impulse. Each deliberate step weakens fear's prediction that disaster awaits. Eventually, your brain updates its expectations because experience replaces imagination. Confidence becomes accumulated evidence, not motivational fantasy. You earn inner certainty through repeated encounters with reality. Proving resilience grows strongest where comfort finally ends, and purposeful action faithfully continues anyway, every single time you choose wisdom over hesitation. Again, today, Hidden Law 5. Fear isolates because it convinces you that your struggle is unique. Spinoza recognized that every human being shares the same fundamental nature, even while expressing different personalities and circumstances. This hidden law dissolves shame by revealing that your inner conflicts are profoundly human. History overflows with individuals who doubted themselves before changing the world. Their fears differed in detail but not in structure. Once you understand this common pattern, self-condemnation loses its persuasive voice. Compassion toward yourself becomes practical strength, not weakness. Research consistently shows that self-compassion encourages resilience more effectively than relentless self-criticism. You recover faster because you stop wasting energy attacking yourself. The mind becomes quieter when understanding replaces judgment. Then fear can no longer convince you that isolation is your destiny. Shared humanity quietly becomes the foundation for enduring courage and meaningful connection throughout your entire life from this moment forward. Having uncovered the hidden laws, you are ready to descend even deeper. What follows is not about calming fear, but recognizing the silent structures that shape perception, influence behavior, and quietly determine power. These unspoken laws expose the psychological terrain where genuine freedom is either gained or surrendered forever consciously. The first unspoken law reveals that people rarely fear reality itself. They fear losing the identity they have constructed around certainty. Every belief about who you are creates invisible boundaries around what you believe you can survive. When circumstances threaten those boundaries, fear appears, disguised as self-protection. Spinoza understood that attachment to fixed identities blinds reason and strengthens emotional slavery. Modern psychology reaches similar conclusions through studies of ego defense mechanisms, showing how people resist evidence that challenges cherished self-images. The paradox is unsettling. The stronger your attachment to identity, the weaker your relationship with truth becomes. Genuine psychological power begins when you stop defending every opinion, status, and label as though your existence depended upon them. Instead of asking who you must remain, ask who you are becoming. Flexibility disarms fear because reality no longer threatens a rigid illusion. It simply invites continuous growth through understanding and deliberate adaptation. The second unspoken law states that fear spreads fastest through borrowed emotions. Human beings unconsciously absorb the anxieties of families, communities, workplaces, and cultures until those feelings seem entirely personal. You inherit expectations, prejudices, and invisible alarms long before you question their origins. Spinoza believed that people become free only after examining the true causes behind their emotional states. Today, neuroscience demonstrates how emotional contagion influences behavior, often without conscious awareness. Crowds panic together. Markets crash together. Social media amplifies outrage because shared emotions feel more convincing than independent thought. Strategic minds recognize this invisible current and refuse immediate emotional participation. They pause before adopting collective conclusions. This deliberate distance is not coldness, but clarity. When you observe fear instead of instantly sharing it, you reclaim authority over your perception. Psychological power grows through independent judgment rather than emotional imitation. Freedom begins the moment inherited reactions are examined, instead of automatically repeated across every area of daily life. The third unspoken law declares that uncertainty itself possesses no emotional meaning until your imagination assigns one. Most suffering develops during the mental rehearsal of outcomes that have never occurred. The brain repeatedly simulates disaster, convincing the body that imaginary threats deserve genuine physiological responses. Spinoza argued that adequate understanding dissolves these destructive passions because clear perception replaces confused interpretation. Cognitive psychology supports this insight by demonstrating how catastrophic thinking intensifies anxiety through repetitive prediction rather than objective evidence. Powerful individuals interrupt this cycle before it dominates behavior. They distinguish probability from possibility, recognizing that unlikely events deserve preparation rather than obsession. This subtle distinction transforms emotional experience. Instead of becoming prisoners of endless hypothetical futures, they remain anchored within observable reality. Their confidence does not arise from guarantees, but from disciplined thinking. Fear weakens whenever imagination serves wisdom instead of mastering it, allowing purposeful action to replace exhausting anticipation during uncertain circumstances with unwavering composure every day. The fourth unspoken law explains that hidden dependence always creates hidden fear. Whenever your peace depends entirely upon external approval, financial success, romantic validation, or public recognition, invisible vulnerability quietly grows beneath apparent confidence. Spinoza insisted that lasting freedom emerges from understanding what genuinely increases your power to exist, rather than chasing endless emotional gratification. Modern behavioral science repeatedly confirms that external rewards provide temporary satisfaction, while internal stability predicts enduring resilience. This does not mean rejecting achievement or relationships. It means refusing to make them the foundation of your identity. The moment your worth depends upon unstable conditions, fear acquires permanent leverage over your decisions. Strategic self-mastery begins by building an inner standard stronger than changing circumstances. From that foundation, success becomes an expression of character instead of compensation for insecurity. Independence quietly transforms every interaction, because nothing essential can be taken from someone whose center remains entirely within conscious understanding. The fifth unspoken law reveals that every attempt to eliminate fear completely strengthens its authority. Resistance often grants emotions greater importance, encouraging constant monitoring for signs of danger or weakness. Spinoza viewed emotional mastery as understanding, not suppression. Feelings become less destructive when observed without immediate identification or resistance. Contemporary acceptance-based therapies reach remarkably similar conclusions, demonstrating that psychological flexibility consistently outperforms emotional avoidance. The strongest minds, therefore, abandon impossible battles against every uncomfortable sensation. Instead, they cultivate steady awareness while continuing meaningful action despite lingering uncertainty. Fear gradually loses influence because it no longer controls behavior. This reversal surprises most people. Freedom does not arrive after fear disappears. Fear begins disappearing after freedom is repeatedly practiced. Once you understand this paradox, emotional discomfort becomes information rather than command. Your attention returns to purposeful living, where disciplined choices quietly reshape identity and lasting courage emerges through consistent engagement with reality. Knowledge without disciplined application changes nothing. These mastery protocols translate Spinoza's deepest insights into deliberate daily practice. They are not motivational habits but strategic disciplines designed to reshape perception, strengthen emotional authority, and dissolve fear through consistent action. Master them patiently, and your relationship with uncertainty will fundamentally change forever. Mastery Protocol 1. Begin every morning by identifying the single fear most likely to influence your decisions before the day ends. Write it down without exaggeration or justification. Then ask yourself whether this fear comes from observable reality or imagined prediction. Spinoza believed understanding always precedes freedom, and this exercise trains your mind to distinguish facts from emotional stories. Resist the temptation to solve everything immediately. Your objective is accurate perception, not instant comfort. Throughout the day, revisit your written observation whenever anxiety appears. Compare your original prediction with what actually unfolds. Over time, you will notice that many anticipated disasters never materialize. This repeated comparison quietly retrains your brain to distrust catastrophic imagination and value evidence instead. Fear gradually loses authority because your experience consistently disproves its exaggerated claims. By evening, reflect upon the difference between expectation and reality. This disciplined practice transforms awareness into lasting psychological strength through patient repetition and unwavering honesty every day. Mastery Protocol 2. Deliberately expose yourself to one manageable uncertainty every single day instead of organizing your life around complete emotional comfort. Choose conversations you have postponed, decisions you have delayed, or opportunities you have avoided because of imagined failure. The purpose is not recklessness, but measured expansion of psychological resilience. Spinoza understood that understanding grows through direct engagement with reality rather than endless contemplation. Each completed action provides evidence that uncertainty is survivable. Your nervous system gradually replaces avoidance with familiarity. Begin with challenges small enough to complete consistently, yet meaningful enough to stretch your confidence. Celebrate disciplined execution instead of external outcomes. Whether the experience succeeds or disappoints matters less than proving your willingness to act despite incomplete certainty. Every deliberate encounter weakens fear's prediction that discomfort equals danger. Eventually, your identity shifts from someone seeking safety towards someone trusting thoughtful action. That transformation becomes the foundation for enduring confidence, emotional flexibility, and independent judgment throughout every meaningful challenge ahead. Mastery Protocol 3. Create a daily practice of separating circumstances from interpretations before responding emotionally. Whenever frustration, anxiety, or disappointment arises, pause and divide the experience into two categories. First, describe only the observable facts. Second, identify every assumption, prediction, or personal meaning your mind has attached to those facts. This simple distinction reflects Spinoza's conviction that confused thinking magnifies emotional suffering. Most fear originates inside interpretation rather than circumstance itself. By repeatedly practicing this separation, you interrupt automatic reactions before they become permanent habits. Over time, your decisions become increasingly guided by reality instead of emotional momentum. Others may continue reacting impulsively, yet you cultivate the rare ability to remain composed while evaluating situations objectively. This calm presence naturally influences those around you because emotional stability inspires confidence. Eventually, your mind begins performing this distinction automatically, allowing clarity to emerge before panic. Consistent practice converts disciplined observation into an enduring source of psychological freedom and resilient leadership. Mastery Protocol 4. Limit your exposure to unnecessary emotional stimulation for one dedicated period every day. Step away from constant news updates, endless notifications, outrage-driven conversations, and comparison-fueled social media. During this protected interval, allow your attention to settle without external interference. Spinoza believed confused passions flourish when the mind is overwhelmed by forces it never examines carefully. Modern neuroscience similarly demonstrates that continuous stimulation fragments attention and heightens emotional reactivity. Silence is therefore not an escape from reality, but preparation for engaging it wisely. Use this uninterrupted time to read thoughtful works, reflect quietly, or observe your thoughts without judgment. Gradually, your mind becomes less dependent upon external excitement and more capable of sustained concentration. Fear often requires constant distraction to maintain influence. Stillness exposes its exaggerations. By protecting your mental environment with deliberate discipline, you strengthen inner authority while reducing unnecessary emotional noise. Clarity quietly becomes your most reliable strategic advantage every single day. Mastery Protocol 5. End every evening by reviewing one fearful decision you made and one courageous decision you made during the day. Examine both without self-condemnation or self-celebration. Ask what beliefs shaped each response and whether those beliefs reflected reality or emotional habit. Spinoza viewed self-knowledge as the foundation of genuine freedom because unexamined patterns quietly govern future behavior. This nightly review transforms ordinary experience into continuous psychological training. Instead of repeating mistakes unconsciously, you convert them into sources of practical wisdom. Likewise, recognizing courageous actions strengthens your confidence through evidence rather than empty affirmation. Over weeks and months, this record reveals recurring fears, hidden strengths, and meaningful progress that would otherwise remain invisible. Your identity gradually shifts from someone controlled by emotions to someone learning from them deliberately. Fear weakens because every day becomes another opportunity to understand yourself more deeply and act with greater wisdom, resilience, and purpose. Fear was never your true enemy. Misunderstanding was. Spinoza taught that freedom begins when you replace blind reaction with clear understanding. Throughout this journey, you uncovered hidden laws, unspoken psychological realities, and practical mastery protocols designed to transform fear into wisdom. The goal was never becoming fearless, but becoming impossible to control through fear. Every moment you question your assumptions, observe your emotions, and choose reason over impulse, you reclaim another piece of your freedom. That quiet victory changes every relationship, every decision, and every future possibility. If this video challenged your perspective, subscribe to Hidden Oasis and join a community dedicated to timeless philosophy, psychological mastery, and inner freedom. Like this video, share it with someone ready to confront fear differently, and comment, "I choose reason," below to declare your commitment publicly. Until next time, keep seeking the truths that liberate your mind before the world defines your destiny.